Hi, I want to welcome you to our Future Farmer Show. It's been 7 days. A lot has happened in 7 days. If you come with me, you'll see. I'll tell you about this very soon. Not me, don't worry. It's Agco, our partners. So a lot have happened in 7 days, and I hope you enjoyed the planning program we did. It was quite academic. It was a lot of learning. It was a lot of preparation. But since then, the rains have come. Yes, the rains came. I hope you enjoyed the rains. The weather is beautiful, and the farmers are happy. We have started planting. So this edition of the Future Farmer Show is on planting, crop planting. And my name is Orisha Jolomi. Somebody asked, says, what are pastors doing on agricultural show? Well, pastors have to ensure that the nations eat. So we feed you spiritual things. We also feed you wisdom, knowledge, understanding. So I sit here as the head of the leadership farm. So as farmers grow vegetables, we grow leaders. And therefore, this program is here to ensure we beat certain things before 2030. One is food, hunger, and food production is big. So this pastor is here to ensure that Zambia transforms by 2064, first world nation, and agriculture is the biggest employer we want to use to bring transformation. So that's why I'm here, okay? And if you look at the Bible, by the way, even from the beginning of the Bible, the first thing in the Bible was agriculture. But agriculture couldn't happen until we build the person. So when God built the man, you see, the agriculture started. Bible says, let's use Bible today, Sunday. Come on, pastor is here. Now, Genesis 1, God made man. Genesis 2, it says God had made everything, but there was no grass because there was no rain, because there was no man to till the ground. Therefore, if we build you up, you will build the ground and Zambia will be fed. That is why we are here. Agriculture will take Zambia to the next level. And to do that, the leadership farm, who grows people, have partnered with the expert that grows crop. So two farmers, God is a farmer, and Agco, our farm company, agriculture company, are building us in that knowledge. And today is going to be a wonderful, absolutely brilliant, I'm telling you, brilliant. You don't want to miss 1 minute of it. Whenever you have a break, go get your tea, get your food, get your shima, sit down there, take your bright pack and just do something, because today is going to be awesome. I love it. You will love it. Let's go and see what do we have for this program.
Welcome to the Martin Richard Hagen Future Farm, based in Lusaka, Zambia. The Martin Richard Hagen Future Farm is a modern state-of-the-art facility offering education and training in mechanized sustainable agriculture for farmers in Zambia and Africa. We offer facilities such as lecture rooms, student accommodation, and a state-of-the-art fitted kitchen and restaurant. We also offer facilities for business and social events. We hope you enjoy your experience here at the Future Farm.
Let's get into the meat of today. Now, you know, pastors can talk agriculture, but I cannot talk how to plant. I can talk how to teach you, put in you, but in the ground, not me. So we're going to have two people that are going to be talking to us about planting. And they're talking as experts in this, and they're wanting to help you and me become better farmers, okay? So they'll tell you things about right planting, wrong planting, levels of seed depth, spacing. They'll tell you all that, but not me. So we're going to have Sheila, the farm specialist, the agronomist at Agco, and we're going to have Felix, the machines expert, to teach us and tell us how we can be better farmers in your house, even now, starting now. So let's go to Sheila and Felix, and I'll come back to tell you more.
So we had rains at the Martin Richard Future Farm. I hope you also received some rains. We are super excited because it's planting time now. But recapping from the crop planning, remember last week we ran you through the stages in crop planning. This is just to ensure that you have a program as your season starts. So you've got your seeds, you know your soil, you know your machinery, you know your resources, you've actually got, you've secured your inputs by now. So the most important step now in the cropping plan is planting. It's the most important because this is going to determine your yield. So with planting, there's a difference between merely putting the seed in the soil and there's also successful planting. Successful planting is what is planting for profit or farming for business. So when it comes to successful planting, there are a few factors that we have to consider in the process of planting. So when we talk about successful planting, we have to adhere to certain steps. We have to ensure that certain conditions are favorable. And first things first, you need to ensure that you have adequate moisture. So for those of you that are planting dry land, you wait for the rains. Like I said, the rains are here. We've also received the rains. Our field is dry land. So once the rains are here, you've got your moisture. For those of you engaged in, those of you with irrigation facilities, you can actually turn on your irrigation facilities and you can determine when you want to plant. And those of you looking to venture into agriculture, you've got the resources, you've got the funds. You can get on with irrigation facilities. This ensures that you control a lot of things. You control your date of planting because you don't have to wait for the rains. When it comes to checking your adequate moisture, this is a simple practice that most of you can actually do in your own fields. For those engaged in dry land, you can actually dig up and do a visual assessment. Those engaged with irrigation facilities, ensure that you irrigate about 20 mils. That should be adequate field capacity. But for dry land, like we are here, this is a dry land field, you can use your hoe just to check the moisture. So you just dig up, you can see that you've got some moisture here, and this is adequate because you actually need your moisture for your germination. So the first step in the germination process is moisture. Your seed needs to absorb moisture in order to start the germination process. Coming on from your field moisture, you want to talk about seed to soil contact. Ensure that you have very good seed to soil contact. So seed to soil contact is just to ensure that your seed is adequately covered in the soil, because your seed is going to absorb the moisture from the soil. So you make sure that your seed is properly covered so it can absorb the moisture from the soil. So when we talk about seed to soil contact, this is where your planting depth comes in, and this is another critical factor in your successful planting process. So ensure that the seed is not planted too shallow and it should not be planted too deep. So with cereals like maize, ensure that you plant up to 5 centimeters. This can be approximately this long, or I think this should be a good approximate, about this much, not deeper than this. So when seeds are planted too shallow, it's exposed to the surface. It can be eaten by birds. It can be washed off by torrent rainfall. And when it's planted too deep, more than 5 centimeters, the seedling is so weak, there's no energy to push up to come to the surface, to get air, to get sunlight, and to start the growth process. So you need that balance. You need to have good seed to soil contact. You need to have the correct depth. So all of this is tying in together for your germination, because you want the seed to have favorable conditions for germination. So let me re-emphasize on planting one seed per station. This is a very important practice because your seed comes at a cost and it forms part of your cost of production. So planting more than one seed per station, this results into wastage of your input and it increases your cost. And this practice, it doesn't matter whether you're a small scale farmer, whether you're a mechanized farmer. With a mechanized farmer, you calibrate your machinery to drop one seed per station. With a small scale farmer, as you are planting, you drop one seed in each hole, because you want to maximize on your inputs. So with a small scale farmer, you just dig, like I said, about up to 5 centimeters, and this is for maize. You just one seed, ensure a good seed to soil contact. And you're done. So with the seeds, so much work has been done on calculating how much seed you need for what piece of land. For maize, you need about 25 kgs for a hectare, and for an acre, you need about 10 kgs. For half an acre, you need about 5 kgs. So when you're buying this seed, like I said, there's a cost involved, and it's worked out in such a way that you are supposed to get the yield that goes with that amount of seed with a piece of land that it's been researched to cover. So when you buy your seed, according to these quantities and according to your size, it's all been worked out to give you the profit, to give you the yields. So really 2 seeds, 3 seeds in one hole, that is a waste. We see people buying so much seed, and they have small pieces of land. You may not need that. A lot of you are working on an acre basis. So for maize, you know that just 1 acre, it's 10 kgs. And when it comes to maize seed, sometimes when you have smaller grades, if you go to buy seeds, it's maize seed, it's graded. You've got the extra small, you've got the large, you've got the large flat. So you find that with a small flat or small round, sometimes you can actually have more seeds in 10 kgs. So you find that 10 kgs can actually give you slightly more than an acre. But to be comfortable, your 10 kgs should be able to do an acre, and you have to avoid planting 2 seeds in one hole. Now you know that you have to plant 1 seed per station. And the next thing now that you have to ensure is that you've got your nutrients. If you are using fertilizer, you ensure that your compound fertilizer is applied at planting, because once your seed starts to germinate, your seed needs the nutrients. Just like human beings, babies are born, they need milk, people want food to eat, to grow. Your seed also requires the nutrients. For those of you that are engaged in manure, make sure that you apply the manure way before you plant, because they release the nutrients slowly into the soil. If you are using fertilizer, you apply the fertilizer at the time of planting. So if you look at our common compound fertilizers, NPK, which we all know, so the phosphorus in your compound D fertilizer is very good for the roots, and your seed needs that, because once the germination starts, you know, your seed will absorb moisture and then it starts bringing out the roots. Those roots require the phosphorus fertilizer for them to get good establishment. So you apply the fertilizer at the time of planting. There's a common practice again for people wanting to apply compound D fertilizer after germination. So the problem with that is that most of the nutrients are wasted, because your root is what requires that fertilizer, and it's going down, because when the roots are coming out of the seed, they are going down, and then you are on the soil surface applying your fertilizer. So it takes time for that fertilizer to get to the root, and you know the kind of rains that we have. Sometimes we have 100 mils in one downpour, and it's easy for your fertilizer to be washed off. So ensure that you apply the fertilizer at planting, especially the compound fertilizer, because that is required by your seed when it starts to germinate. So application of fertilizer at the time of planting, again, it doesn't matter whether you are a small scale farmer, whether you are a mechanized farmer. With a mechanized farmer, most of our planters, they already have fertilizer hoppers, and the seed and fertilizer will go at the same time. For the small scale farmers, it's the same process, it's the same technique. So why all of this is important and tying back to successful planting is that you want to create favorable environment, or rather conditions that are favorable for your seed to germinate. So you want to avoid or rather eliminate certain factors that are going to compromise on your germination, compromise on your plant stand and your plant population. So one seed per station with the right amount of fertilizer ensures that your seed gets all the nutrients that it requires. So those of you who are planting 2 seeds per station, what you are doing is that you are promoting competition, because the seed is eating, it wants the food, it wants the nutrients. So one seed, when you plant 1 seed per hole, you've got this area around your seed hole where your seed has to feed from. So if you've got 2 seeds in 1 hole, then you promote competition. So these 2 seeds are now competing for nutrients, and what happens is that you compromise on the growth. So the seed company is going to tell you the yield potential of this crop, of this variety. They're going to tell you that you're supposed to have a certain size of a cob. Sometimes you don't actually attain that because your plant does not have enough to get it to that full potential which your seed company has prescribed. And when your seed company is selling this seed, the cost of that seed is actually going with the yield potential of that seed, and it's up to you, the farmer, to ensure that you give it all the conditions favorable to attain that potential for which you have paid it for, because that seed should give you the yield, and it is the yield that maximizes your profit, that increases your productivity.
The Future Farm is really about generating knowledge and knowledge about farming. How can you make knowledge more profitable? How can knowledge work? Not just provide food on your table, but also to be a business. Because we know that farming is really the employment of over 60% of Zambians and actually over 40% of Africans.
The benefits of having mechanization on our farms, quite a number of them. One of them is you have good quality of work on your farm.
So to the existing farmers, what is key with farming and the future of farming is that you need to be knowledgeable. So when we talk about farming in Zambia, most of us associate farming with maize, but you can plant a lot more other crops, especially if you are farming as a business, because we know that everybody grows maize in Zambia, and if you look at the price of maize and price of other crops, you find that maybe maize might be fetching the lowest, and then other crops are fetching more. So farming as a business, you look at what crop is going to give you more money. So today, for us at Martin Rickenhagen Future Farm, we are also planting soybeans. So soybeans, very good for your crop rotation, very low input crop. So with soybeans, you only have to apply your compound fertilizer at planting, and you don't have to come back with a top dressing fertilizer like we do for maize, because the input cost for maize, it's quite high actually compared to soybeans. So with soybeans, you just apply your compound D fertilizer, and you don't come in with your nitrogen fertilizer, because soybeans fixes its own nitrogen in the soil. And that's why it's very good for crop rotation, because after you plant your soybeans, you come in with your maize. You may not need as much nitrogen for that maize after coming off a soybeans crop. So that is one of the advantages with soybeans. It's a very low cost production crop. And coming on to the margins for soybeans as well, we all know it fetches more on the market, but apart from selling it as a grain, you can actually add value. You can extract oil from soybeans, and you can also extract or rather extract oil and also have animal feed from soybeans. So similar planting techniques will apply to soybeans just like maize, but when it comes to your field moisture, soybeans requires more water at germination than maize. it has to absorb at least 50% of its weight with water for it to start the germination process. And this starts within 24 hours of planting, and that's why you have to ensure that your soils are favorable for planting, because with soybeans it will kickstart the process, and if moisture is not adequate, and then it just stops that process and you don't get your plant. So ensure that you have field capacity moisture for soybeans. It has to imbibe more water than maize, and everything else with the depth, we said maize you go up to 5 centimeters, but with soybeans you actually go shallower. You get it at about 3 centimeters, which is maybe the size of this finger, about 3 centimeters. So you just want to make sure that it is covered. Protect it from pests, but also protect it just from heavy rainfall that might wash it off. So that it is that is that with soybeans. So very good crop for your rotation, but also very good crop to increase your productivity and your margins because of how much it fetches on the market. So I've talked to you about successful planting, and this is all to ensure that you get above 99% of germination. You want to have good germination, good crop establishment. You want to achieve your plant population, because that is what maximizes your yields. So all these factors that are involved in the planting process are very critical, because you want to give your season a very good start, and that starts with successful planting and good crop stand. So Felix, I've been talking about successful planting and all the factors involved in the process of planting. So I've talked about the importance of the planting depth. I've talked about the importance of singulation, one seed in each hole. And I've talked about fertilizer placement, because all of these factors are very critical in good germination and just a good crop stand. So Felix is going to talk to you on our precision planter and how this will help you achieve those factors that I talked to you about successful planting.
Taking it up from Sheila, we have the precision planter. It's the planter that we are going to use this farming season to plant this field that you've seen here. The total hectareage is about 40 hectares. We have 20 hectares of maize that will be planted this side, and then 20 hectares of that will be planted that side. So you need a planter like this one, because it will cut down on your costs for planting, also on time. You can imagine if you were using bare hands, or maybe you are using oxen to drawn power to plant 40 hectares, this will take you forever. So thank you that we have this a planter, and we encourage farmers there to ensure that they should find planters. They should do their planting operations using planters, because it's going to cut down on a lot of things. So you know, farming has got a specific period that you're supposed to do some certain assignments, like planting. There's no way one will go planting for 2-3 weeks, you're still planting. If you mean planting, serious planting, you need a planter like this one, because you're going to do it within a shortest period of time, and then you end there. So I'm going to talk about planter calibration. What is planter calibration? So for this machine here to work well, it requires somebody who is trained to on how to calibrate it. So calibration is basically setting it up to a certain standard that will give you the results that you require. Take for example, if I'm given 1 hectare to plant using this planter, and then I'm told to say you should use, you should plant, maybe you should sow 55,000 of seed on that hectare, or maybe 25 kgs. So if you are using bare hands, you may use more or less than that. So by so doing, you may not achieve the crop yield that you needed to achieve on that specific hectareage that you've been given. So it's very important that a planter is calibrated, or it is set to a certain standard that you need it to operate on. So depth setting is one of those things that we consider when we are doing our planter calibration, because you need to plant or sow your seed on a certain equal depth. Take for example, this operator has been given an assignment and he is told to plant that seed at 5 centimeters deep. So for this planter, it's user friendly. You don't have to even waste time. This is where you come and set your depth. If you've set it, if you put it at 2 centimeters deep, ensure that on all of them you put them on 2 centimeters deep, and this planter will be able to achieve that. Why is the depth setting important? Because your seed needs to be planted on the same depth, and then you have uniformity in the way you are going to plant. There's going to be uniformity in the way that seed is going to sprout, and eventually you have uniformity on the crop establishment, which is the key component of crop yield. So without that, if this planter is not nicely calibrated on depth, you find that some seed will go at 10 centimeters deep, the other seed, then you can't achieve the crop yield that you need to. That is it for crop, for the depth, planting depth. The other thing that we consider is on the fertilizer. Yeah, so fertilizer application rate is achieved by making your adjustments or calibrating your planter using this knob here. There are actually 2. You have one here and then another one on the other side. What people need to remember is that when you put it at 30 or 20 here, ensure that you replicate that. It should also be at the same number that side. So this is very important for operators to remember if you are to get the correct fertilizer application given per any hectareage that you are planting. Again, I'm going to talk about singulation, which Sheila, just alluding to what Sheila spoke about. Singulation, how do we achieve singulation? This planter has the system that we call V-drive. The V-drive system is connected via the electrical cables, via this tractor up to inside. If you're able to see the screen that is there. So when you activate that, then it's easy for you. You just pick, if you want to plant singulation, you just enter there, and then the number of seeds. If it's 55,000 seeds you are planting per hectare, it's very easy for you to do that. Yeah, so what we are saying is that if you are given 25 kgs and you are given instructions to say that should be enough to plant 1 hectare. So using the system, the V-drive that I've spoken about, that is connected to the screen where the operator enters that information, you have about 55 plants. So that is only attainable when you are using a machine like this one. One who is using hands cannot manage to do that. It can take them forever. So my advice is that let farmers come together, let them form cooperatives so that they put their monies together and see if they can get a machine like this one, which is going to help them in their locality. If not, we as Martin Richard Hagen, the Future Farm, we haven't forgotten about the small-scale farmers. We still have a small tractor, a two-row tractor, which we are going to talk about and also show. So with all this information that I've just spoken about, in conclusion, I would say this planter stands out in the sense that the operator, as he is operating, he is able to key in every information starting from singulation, the population and everything else, downforce, and then there is communication between the planter through that screen with the driver, the operator. As he is operating, he is looking and he is paying much attention on the screen, seeing what is obtaining at the back. If the planter is not planting, then he will pick it up from the screen, he will stop and make that correction. So that's why we're saying this planter stands out if you are to compare it to other planters. So that's why we're calling it a precision planter, and you need to have a planter like this one. If you don't have it, please team up, see if you can get one. Here we have the two-row planter, as you can see. So a two-row planter is a planter that is designed for small-scale farmers. So at Martin Richard Hagen, at the Future Farm here, we haven't forgotten about small-scale farmers. So this field is about 8 hectares, and we have this implement with smaller tractors that do farm operations here, reaping, planting, and everything else. So I'm going to talk about and demonstrate about planter calibration. Yeah, so this is the seed disc. Once you have chosen this seed disc, remember I spoke about singulation on the bigger planter. So this one, again, with good calibration, it also does that. It does not allow 2 seeds to go through one hole. So that's why it's important that as you do your seed grade, you also consider your seed disc and the hole, the size of those holes, because this hole is only meant to allow one seed to go through in any particular hole on the ground at any given time. So this is how, this is the importance of you calibrating your planter effectively, considering seed and the seed disc and everything else. So don't worry, small-scale farmers, you also are being catered for. This planter is also capable of doing the seed singulation. So from there, I spoke about the seed board. Why? What is the importance of this seed board? This is where the calibration of your seed is supposed to be done. That's where you get the information. This planter plants per meter. It counts the number of seeds per meter. And it's up to the farmer, the owner of that field. If you want to have 10 seeds per meter, it's up to you. If you want to have 5 seeds per meter, that is again well and good. So where do you get that information from? It's from the seed board. There is information that is being given A, B, and then you are told the sprockets to put on A, B, and C, and so forth. Again, for fertilizer, it calculates the number of kgs, the quantity. The quantity is how many kgs do you want to apply per hectare. There are several options there. Do you want to apply 245 kgs? Is it 150 kgs? Again, all those options are there. You just do your correct calibration, get the sprockets, and then put them where it's written C, get the sprocket that you get for there, and then you get it right.
We continue with our program. It's been beautiful so far. Did you enjoy that? Did you see what can happen? How seeds compete, like siblings compete. In fact, one of the things I liked about planting is that they gave me something to see when I listened, that the way the ground is the same way the womb is. The womb only takes one seed at a time. The ground also takes one seed at a time. So don't put 5 seeds. Mwana, stop. Put 1 seed in one place. But it was so beautiful to learn that the whole of your ground is a womb. So you can put seed, and get so much yield and so much money. The money is on your field. Let's start farming. Now, we want to see what else does Agco have on the future farm. And we're going to have Namonga and tell us what other facilities they have. Every week we tell you something more about Agco. So learn something and I'll be back to you.
Compliments of the season. Beautiful people of Zambia and Africa. Today, I would like to show you another exciting spot. At the Martin Rickenhagen Future Farm, we just don't do farm activities. We also have beautiful recreation facilities. You can come through for picnics, birthday parties, family reunions, and just an out weekend away from the noise. We have 4 beautiful insakas with nice comfortable chairs, tables, power source, just in case you want to charge your phone, you want to charge your laptop, because this generation is addicted to technology, and of course, a beautiful scenery. Our Insaka have a well-stocked bar and a beautiful bright area, and of course, washrooms. Look out for more exciting sports next week on Sunday, same time at 2 p.m. DSTV channel 277. For bookings, you can contact us on the number showing on the screen. You can also drop us an email on info@agcofuturefarm@agcocorp.com. Thank you for watching and God bless.
Welcome to the Martin Rickenhagen Future Farm, based in Lusaka, Zambia. The Martin Rickenhagen Future Farm is a modern state-of-the-art facility offering education and training in mechanized sustainable agriculture for farmers in Zambia and Africa. We offer facilities such as lecture rooms, student accommodation, and a state-of-the-art fitted kitchen and restaurant. We also offer facilities for business and social events. We hope you enjoy your experience here at the Future Farm.
Welcome back. It's the Future Farmer Show. My name is Orisha Jolomi. I'm Pastor Jolomi, and we're talking planting today. But beyond planting, in the last 7 days, a lot has happened on the Future Farm here. And one thing that has happened is this here, this award. It's an award, a recognition of what this farm has been doing in community, particularly in this COVID year. So Agco, Agriculture Company, has been awarded the 2021 Community Engagement Participant Award, and coming from the American Chambers of Commerce, Zambia American Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to find out some of the things Agco is doing in community, but more importantly, on this community to their staff. One of the things we see is with COVID, with all things happening, food is an issue. And one of the SDGs, you remember at the top of the program, at the first program, we said one of the things we want to deal with is poverty and hunger. Now, we want to talk to Sheila. Sheila, you're the agronomist. Thank you for joining me So you're not on the field now, you're joining me at the leadership farm table. We're farming human beings. You guys have at Agco has done so well in community, so congratulations.
Thank you.
I hear you at Bonanza receiving the award. You and Kalongo received on behalf of the team. Tell us about this, just a bit about Community Award, because what I would like to hear is food sustainability. How have you worked to make sure families have enough food in 1 year with just a little amount of space? And how do we come about it? But tell us about this very quickly.
So this award is in recognition of our engagement with the community, and these are various initiatives and programs that we come up with in engaging the community, all centered at sustainability and food security. So food security is key because we are saying when people grow food, it should sustain them to the next farming season, but in most cases it doesn't. So we are introducing techniques and processes that they should adhere to.
So food security is having enough food until the next farming season.
Yes.
Which
so
for us oftentimes is 1 year.
In most cases, it doesn't actually go to the next year. We are so safe to say everybody, every farmer, especially the small-scale farmers, they'll brag of having 2 hectares of land for cereal, for their staple food, but most of them actually don't grow enough to take them to the next farming season. So you find before the next farming season, there are issues of lack of food, hunger, because the food is unable to get to the next farming season for when they can have some more.
So you have brought for us here 2 cups of maize. Very nice. I hope I can take it home. But I'm sure you're going to explain to us this. Now, food security. Lots of us don't have big money. How can we feed ourselves as families, which you have done here? How can we feed ourselves as families with the same land we have without having to beg, borrow, or steal? Please explain.
Actually, that's the question we're trying to answer when we undertook this program for household food security with the community. The biggest question was, how much land is required to feed your family, like you have asked?
For a year.
For a year. So we had this question, but to answer it, we had to implement this project. And we picked on maize because it's very unfortunate that most people will buy maize, but they'll still queue up to buy mielie meal because this is where the mielie meal is coming from. So we said, okay, so how much land is required?
Let me say that again. So for people that is their first time to hear what you just said, so your mielie meal comes from your maize.
Comes from the maize. So if you're growing maize, you should not buy mielie meal. So we see people queuing up to buy mielie meal, but they're also growing maize. So where are they getting it wrong? So this project, we went on further. We picked on orange maize. Reason being that we also wanted to introduce vitamin A, which is in the orange maize, which is not sufficient in most of the diets. You find it in butternut, you find it in carrots, but then some people would go for days without having those foods with the vitamin A. So we realized that if we have vitamin A in our maize, which people eat twice a day.
So yellow maize, orange maize has vitamin A.
It has vitamin A.
Good.
So we thought this was the best way to introduce it in people's diets because they'll eat shima, I think, more often than any other food.
Any other food.
Yeah. So we had about 2 hectares and we divided this among the 35 households that we have. So each household got about 6 lines.
So 2 hectares of land, 35 households
yes,
were divided to 2 hectares. 2 hectares will be about 5 acres of land.
Yeah, that's about 5
acres.
Yeah,
of
because
land.
1 hectare is about 10,000 meters squared, and then 2 hectares, yeah.
Okay, please go on.
Yeah, so we divided that among 35 households, and each household got about six lines, and those lines.
What do you mean 6 lines? What's 6 lines?
So
Explain that.
So one line is the line that you're going to plant your maize.
Okay.
So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines,
So
because
6
that was
lines.
according to the measurements of the field.
Okay.
Yes, and
How long is this 6 lines?
so one line was measuring 72 meters, and then apart it was 90
Length
centimeters.
72
length,
Meters.
yes,
Space in between each line is
90 centimeters.
Okay.
So it was approximately 7 meters because each line was 90 centimeters and then 6 lines. So we had about 7 meters width and 72 meters the length.
Okay.
So that was for each household.
okay.
Yeah. So from from the yields that we got, the yields were ranging. Some people got 200 kgs from the 6 lines. Some people got 300 kgs. And then we went on to find out how was this achieved. And then we realized that we actually counted. We got into detail. So these are the cobs that are with me here. So we found that from one cob, we had 15 lines around the cob. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. And then on one line, we had 45 grains. From one end to the other end, we had 45 grains. And then from one cob, we're getting approximately 180 grams. And we had about 288 cobs from one line, and that was measuring about 50 kgs, 51 kgs from one line, especially for people that got 300 kgs, because it turned out that 300 kgs was 6 bags of 50 kgs.
So
it
each
meant
line
that
gave
each
you
line actually gave 150
50 kg.
kgs. And some of the beneficiaries that we talked to, they said their meal consumption was 50 kgs per hectare.
And this is a
month,
family of average of how many?
about six.
Six people in a home.
6 people,
2
yeah.
parents, 4 kids.
4 kids and maybe an adult, not really kids,
Okay.
but obviously.
Adults, 6 adults.
6 adults, yes. So that was 300 kgs from 6 lines.
Before you go,
6 bags.
you notice here, the grain goes all the way to the top, but this one is it doesn't go to. What's the difference? Why is this?
So this has to do with various factors during the growing season. So when the cob is grain filling, there's pollination taking place and other weather factors like wind, like rainfall. So you find that a cob like this one, this is the potential, because the cob is supposed to fill all the way up to the end. This is the way it was bred. So that's why I said it gives you 45 lines, but maybe this could be less. So with this one, you can actually see that the process was disturbed, so you didn't get all the cobs up to the end. If you count this, you find that it's less, and already this would affect your yields. So you make sure that at the time of planting, you time it in such a way that your pollination will take place at a time when maybe we won't have too much rainfall, because all of this is timed. We know when we have heavy rainfall, we know when it's too windy or too much sunlight. So it's the timing. So when we talk about right time of planting, we are trying to make sure that every process in the growing season comes at a time where it's favorable for the crop to perform at its best.
Okay, so let's come back to feeding a family in a year sustainably. 7 lines, 6 lines, 7 meters.
Yeah, so 6 lines, 300 kgs from 6 lines, measuring 72 meters length and 7 meters wide. So from 6 lines, so one of the beneficiaries we talked to who got 300 kgs said average consumption is 50 kgs per month of maize, which is ground into meal. So it turned out that for a year, because that was for a year then, because he got 6 bags.
So that's just 6 lines.
6 lines, 6 bags. So it meant that for a year he needed 12 bags.
12 lines.
Just 12 lines. 12 lines to have meal for the whole year. And then if you look at the piece of land that we were working out, this was about 500 meters square per family, which is far, far less than a hectare. Some people own 2 hectares, but they don't even produce food to take them to the next farming season, like I said. So this was from 500 meters squared. So, and when we infer this to a hectare, it works out that this is a yield representing 6 tons per hectare. And if a family of 6 can consume just about 2 tons from 1 hectare,
they have a lot to sell.
Then they have the extra to sell. And this is from 1 hectare. But other thing to consider is also that the piece of land that you have, small as it may be, it needs to be well managed. It's not about having bigger farmlands for you to get more, but it's about managing the smaller piece of land well for you to get the most out of it. So some people have, how big is your backyard garden?
So from my backyard, I can feed my family for a year.
For a year.
If I manage it, the word you used is manage properly.
You manage your background. You're able to actually grow your maize for your meal. Some people have 1 hectare, 1 acre. That's enough. But then...
And we're going to talk to the people. We see the testimony. So this you are saying is not just talk. People have done it. They're living it, it's working. And we want to hear, because they told us it wasn't just maize, they were rotating. But that helps because cowpeas are legumes, yes? So they put nitrogen into the ground. They make it nice. Explain that to us so that people at home know that you don't just grow. When you grow maize, you deplete. When you grow legume, can you explain that? Okay. How does that help? Then we go to the testimonials and see people that did it. And
so in as much as I said, this is household food security, so you see that there were so many things that were being addressed. So there was diversification in that way. You grow several crops. Depending on how the season turns out, one crop will do better than the other. So already your diversification is addressed. But then there's also your soil management. You're managing the soil. There are certain crops like maize. It's a high feeder. It depletes most of the nutrients out of the soil. And then you've got the legumes, which is fixing. So we also have
Give me examples of legumes. Cowpeas
so
one,
the legumes, yes? We had, for this project, we had cowpeas, because for cowpeas, people are able to eat the leaves for relish, and they will use the grain again to eat it.
So this is really sustainability.
Yes, it
Everything contributes.
Everything is actually contributing, and there's no wastage. There's no wastage. So the crop residue is incorporated into the soil, and everything else, the leaves, the grains, that is all taken up. So with crop rotation, that is another sustainable practice, because you are improving on the soil. You are not just farming, but you are putting back. So you choose your crops intelligently, not just for your benefit, but for the soil as well. So you can see that all the three pillars of sustainability are addressed. You get your money, you get your food, and the environment is also benefiting.
Awesome. So money, I like money first. Money, food, and environment.
So everything is addressed. So it's not that we are farming for business, we are killing one area. We are also mindful that in the end we are sustainable, and this will allow us to continue farming for more years to come.
So Agco is not just an employer. Agco is a responsible employer, because Agco is seen to the sustainable living of her staff. And therefore, everyone should look at sustainability. But the most beautiful thing we've taken out of this, we're going to be talking to the people that have practiced it. The most beautiful thing is this. With this land behind your house, or even land you just see, you can go there, even borrow that land. 12 lines, 7 meters, and you feed your family, intercropping, maize, cowpeas, and you can feed a family for 12 months. Each line giving you 50 kg of maize, 12 lines, every seed, every line, 1 bag of meal, 12 months. And you've done it.
We've done it, and we're still doing it.
So and this is why this award is relevant.
Exactly.
You're not just doing it in community, you're doing it at home.
We are devising solutions.
Fantastic.
So we identify the challenges and we provide the solution, and it's working here, and it can work for anybody else. So it's planting season now.
We should start doing it.
Exactly.
Thank you, Sheila. Now we're going to see Kalongo. Kalongo is going to be talking to people that have done it, and it has worked. And you will be excited the results they've gotten. Don't go away.
Hello, my name is Kalongo. I'm sitting here with the recipients of the food security pack that we have been engaging in as Agco for the past 2 cropping seasons. Today, I'm pleased to have some of the members who received this support to tell us what their experience was with the Sustainable Food Security Project here at the Agco Future Farm. So with me here, I have 4 members, my colleagues, who experienced the food security project, and they'll be telling us about their experience at household level. How was your experience?
Yeah, my name is Albert Senga. I'm one of the beneficiaries of the food security pack, which we got from Agco. And I was allocated with 5 lines measuring 100 meters. And I harvested about 250 kgs, which translates to 5 50 kg bags of orange maize.
This program also has helped me. I was allocated also with the same lines. I harvested almost 5 to 6 bags, which translated to 250 to 270 somewhere.
How long did that take your family?
The same maize I've been with it is just starting from somewhere June up to now. It's close to 5 to 6 months now.
5 to 6 months. Well, that's really good. And what is the experience with the others?
I name Felix Waria. So experience is amusha maningi. Like monga malanya amena to pass at 7. But 7 is 100 meters. 100 meters ya equivalent at least mwasekwira mwavika fertilizer ero mwalima wangu kushanga musanga inacho sama at least yakola teodo ni 4 bags but twadisa ali amuni ya fresh ya fresh ya rengero kuti tubeko na 4 bags but at least nani fikisako kai niko na family tu chabe 3 so at least inankala ko mushi alisaba sebwino sana.
Sinanga ndine Seria Gasi panyumba tilipo 6 nachosa milisi ma bags yali 4 ma 50 kgs. I program ititandiza kwa mbili maningi. Sitikufana njala yayi.
Okay. So we've learned from this program that just having 7 lines of 100 meters each was able to provide food security for an average family of 6. Most of them have had their maize or have not bought maize out of this farm for about 3 to 4 months. So showing us that food security actually is not determined just by the size of your land, but it's also determined by what you do with the land that you have and how you manage your crop. So I program amene muyonera yatanzako muri vichani manyumba mwanu iya ulimi.
Ine ndine Felix Waria but iya ulimi idibwino maningi ya yellow maize. Yellow maize ya inantandizako na family ili kunse uku na abepo abandi mutuletereko mwandi ni mwamona kepo akanofe kale moneka ka nutrition manje mutuletereko ne nga nyemba vuti tamudi mako na tulalima so ama bags mwafumishe na fumishe yadi 4 but na lisa senda ko 2 nokubapera but na shireko na ende na 2 kaita tudi abengi sana but tuma chosa le
Okay.
at least
Okay.
Yeah, this food security pack has helped us in a lot of ways. One way, our homes are now food secure, and at the same time, this orange maize is very nutritious. Even our children now, their bodies are looking well. Even this other portion which we were allocated with cowpeas, we benefited a lot from the proteins from cowpeas and the relish. We were eating fresh vegetables from the cowpeas leaves, and we've even dried some for future use.
Okay.
This program is very important and it has helped us a lot. Out of this, the same orange maize and the cowpeas who have benefited a lot. The orange maize, we use it to make some, make meal. At the same time, we can use that the same some to mix with the cowpeas. It's very nutritious for our children, even for us. We appreciate for the same program because it has helped a lot. We are looking forward that even in our fields, they can be extended so that we can have more that it can even last us for the whole year.
Okay. So when the project started, people were complaining that the 7 lines were not enough. But now that we experienced it, was the 7 lines enough? What do you think? What would you tell our viewers and those who have never experienced this project before?
Yeah, in what I can say is that the 7 lines which were allocated, each was allocated, was enough. What is very important in the production of these crops is the management of the land. As we did it, we planted early, we managed to do the weeding and applied fertilizer. That's how we managed to get the 7 bags each. Those bags from the harvest.
Okay, Salia?
Inatitandiza kwambiriza swayapa
Inakwana land?
Pamanje pamene munatikirako tonga zikomu because apa manje tili ready kuti tizachosa minisi yambiri yochira pali icha kuti nangu chaka ngatachosa 10 bags nchaka chonse tizasiriza.
Okay. Mr. Mwanza, how much were you getting how many bags were you getting from there?
We were allocated 7 lines, and out of those lines, I got a bag out of each line.
Each line of 100 meters?
Each line of 100 meters, yes. It happened because I make sure that I took good care of it. It was a well managed that in which I got each bag out of 1 line.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it was 4 bags. 4 bags, yeah, in the 7 lines. 7 lines, 4 bags. I mean, okay, chose chite kayirenze yamushe maningi. Ukudi ya ile iko fresh. I mean, narengeso kuti nchoseko 4 bags.
Okay. All right.
So I mean, narengeso kuti nchoseko 4 bags.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Well, there you have it. So we had this project where we had each household cultivate 7 lines. 4 of those lines were planted with maize and 3 of those lines were planted with cowpeas. In this group, the lowest quantity of maize was about 4 bags. That was harvested by Felix over here. And Mr. Chisenga harvested about 6 bags. So all we learned from this is that it's not the size of the land, but what you do with the land, how you protect and how you manage your crop. We also looked at the combination of the crops. We combined orange maize, which is a very nutritious variety of maize, plus cowpeas, a legume. So families were able to harvest the bean, but they also harvested the fresh leaf which they ate during the time of growing the crop. So we hope that you've learned something from here. And this coming year, we actually plan to increase the number of lines so that ultimately our households can actually harvest enough maize to last them the entire year. So we look forward to having you at the Future Farm so you can come and learn a little bit more about this project and how our households here on the farm are benefiting. Thank you. Welcome to the Martin Richenhagen Future Farm, based in Lusaka, Zambia. The Martin Richenhagen Future Farm is a modern state-of-the-art facility offering education and training in mechanized sustainable agriculture for farmers in Zambia and Africa. We offer facilities such as lecture rooms, student accommodation, and a state-of-the-art fitted kitchen and restaurant. We also offer facilities for business and social events. We hope you enjoy your experience here at the Future Farm.
Welcome back. All good things come to an end. This program is not ending, but this session, this edition is coming to an end. And next week, we're going to be having another wonderful, wonderful time. We've had so much today, practical, on the field, in the house. And the beautiful way of ending it is to know how we can feed our families sustainably for 1 year without begging, without borrowing, without stealing. Agco is doing what Joseph did in Egypt, and they are teaching us to do it even here. We can beat the famine through farming, isn't it? So next week, something to look forward to. You want to look at all the things we've taught you today, all the things you've seen. Where do I get the knowledge? Because sometimes you begin to be afraid. How can I do this? Can I do this? Well, we're going to be talking to Agco again, our agriculture company, and we're going to be talking to them, how do we get this knowledge? So they're going to be breaking it down for us. And then we'll be talking to some of Agco's partners in bringing about transformation to our nation, and we'll see what they are doing even in that space. So you want to be with me in the next 8 days. The next Sunday, you want to be here as we continue the Future Farmer Show. So church, get into farming. Business, get into farming. In fact, next week you'll be seeing a lot of areas you can fit into. Some people think farming is just putting seed in the ground. No. There's a whole value chain, upstream, downstream, in farming. We're going to show you opportunities where you can enter into business through agriculture. And that's next week. So keep a date with us. My name is Richard Jolomi. Thank you for joining us. And really, for me, I want to say thank you to the people that make it happen. The great team that God has given us to see to Zambia's transformation. And every Sunday they are working here, making sure you get this. So join us next week Sunday. We'll see you again, another episode of the Future Farmer Show. God bless you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
The Future Farm is really about generating knowledge and knowledge about farming. How can you make knowledge more profitable? How can knowledge work? Not just provide food on your table, but also to be a business. Because we know that farming is really the employment of over 60% of Zambians and actually over 40% of Africans.
The benefits of having mechanization on our farms, quite a number of them. One of them is you have good quality of work on your farm.
So to the existing farmers, what is key with farming and the future of farming is that you need to be knowledgeable.